Well, hey, I guess this is going to be the first proper video on this channel. Not exactly what I was anticipating, but it is what it is. So I felt the need to make this video in the present as a sort of, I guess, time capsule for the future. I don't expect it will do the rounds and get the views, although I'm okay with that if that does happen. But I'm aware that in terms of the community, I'm not a known element, that I am a nobody, but I think that my perspective still has value. Today, we're going to talk about Wizards of the Coast's Open Gaming License version 1.1 and how it affects not just the content of 1D&D, but also the content of 5th edition and 3rd edition and so on. The previous contract, OGL 1.0A, may possibly be revoked by it, or at the very least there is wording in 1.1 that seems as though it is their intent to revoke the old 1.0A license. What does this mean for third-party content creators? Nothing good. There's wording that talks about effectively paying them a portion of your earnings above different thresholds and degrees and whatnot. While I'm sure that's bad, that's not my biggest concern here. I'll let someone else cover that. That's just corporate greed, and it's to be expected. But what I'm most concerned about is that there is wording there that would allow them to legally use your IP without crediting you, without paying you any royalties, without asking you. They can transform it however they want. They can republish it however they want. Whatever you can imagine, they can do with your IP simply because you published it under the OGL. Now you might be thinking, oh, this only affects OGL 1.1, but there's wording in the OGL 1.0A that was kind of a bit of a future-proofing thing that implies that there could be updates to this document that would take precedence. If the courts found that that was legitimate, that OGL 1.1 is a legitimate update to OGL 1.0A, then it would retroactively apply to the content, or I guess it could retroactively apply to the content published under the old license. So it's currently a gray area and something that we need to go to court, but at the same time, nobody really wants to go to court with billion-dollar company Hasbro. Now, do we? So that's a whole nother can of worms. But my point is that it's not just a matter of all future content not being safe. All past content may not be safe either. This document, assuming it held up in court, would effectively allow them to yoink your IPs and be able to use them forever without asking you, without royalties, without anything at all. Right? And that, some of you might be thinking that's not that big a deal. Perhaps you'd feel honored if, let's say, a little town you wrote got included in the Forgotten Realms, or a class you published got included in a new source book, that it was deemed that good. I get it, and I'm with you there, but at the same time, that is work that you did that you are not being paid for, that you are not being recognized for. It is, frankly, disgusting. You deserve to be credited, you deserve to be paid, you deserve to be taken seriously if they want to publish your material as their own. There should be some contract involved in sourcing your material for their books, right? Or they should pay you for your content. Or again, I'm putting to words what could be summarized by the term royalties, I suppose. At the end of the day, most of us don't want the rights to our hard work just yoinked for free. Like our setting, yoinked. Our factions and their dynamic for the setting, yoinked. The flavor text used for the classes we've written, that may or may not be setting dependent, yoinked. The resources, the rollable tables that we work on, the so on and so forth, all those examples. Most of us just don't want Wizards of the Coast to be able to just take and reuse all of our stuff for free with no recognition, no permission granted, no nothing, right? I don't mean to be rude, but if you're all for that, you are part of the problem, and I don't think I can reach you. I believe that creators should be allowed to retain the rights to dish out their IPs as they see fit. I think that there should be that stopgap to allow between allowing Wizards of the Coast to just, how do I phrase this? So third party and fan content is kind of one and the same by and large, right? I don't think that companies should be able to steal fan content and then use it freely without crediting that artist, without crediting that writer, without paying that artist, without paying that writer. If Pokemon took someone's fan art of Pikachu, let's say, and put it on all their trading card games, on a trading card for Pikachu for the next set. If they put it on promotional material for a game, promotional material on their website, if they began to use it on let's say, clothes that they're publishing or other merch, right? If they just took someone's fan art of Pikachu and just started doing that, no royalties given to that artist, no nothing, does that sound right to you? I don't think that that should be right. So I understand that I am arguing from a moral standpoint here, but I think that it is okay to give a shit about morality and hold companies accountable. Well, I mean responsible too, but accountable was the word I was looking for there. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit passionate about this subject. Now, I've been painting in very broad strokes so far. Let me go back into some specifics. I'm going to tell you about me and my experience. So I'm going to have to deviate just a little bit and talk about YouTube and my future plans and whatnot. So bear with me, right? Okay. So I wanted to do YouTube with the backup plan of self-publishing a portfolio, and then getting hired as a freelancer or under some sort of contract for third-party writers or Wizards of the Coast themselves, if I ever got to that level, or so on and so forth, right? There was a change to the YouTube algorithm regarding cussing and the sort of content I wanted to make, where I go off the cuff like this, as well as like it would greatly affect live stream content as well. Basically, my faith in YouTube was shaken. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. This is what the plan B was for. The original plan was YouTube first, D&D second. Now we're going to just pivot to D&D first, YouTube second. We're gonna get that portfolio out there. We're going to shop myself around. And then while I wait to be hired or in between gigs, then I can refocus on figuring out what direction I can go on YouTube that is both doable by me, but also won't get me in trouble with the algorithm. What would allow me to grow effectively. So here I am at this fun point in history where apparently I've picked the exact wrong time to get into the YouTube business. And now I've also apparently picked the exact wrong time to get into the D&D business. I have very good luck. Have I mentioned that before? I don't think I have, but I have very good luck. Anyways. Where I'm now faced with a dilemma. I could wait till after the 12th. The 12th is when on the document it says that the document goes into effect. Right. That's where the number's coming from. Anyways, we wait till the 12th, right? We publish something. Maybe the OGL yoinks my rights to that IP, right? Well, I guess not yoinks my rights. I still own the rights. They just have the right to do whatever they want with it. Effectively, they have an unlimited license, courtesy of this new OGL license, right? Anyways, maybe some aspects of that don't stand up in court. They're illegal and they get fought, right? That'd be great. But again, who wants to go up against Hasbro in court? Certainly not me, as a nobody, just trying to break into the industry, just trying to put a portfolio out there so then maybe I can get hired and start down that path, right? So that's a risk not worth taking. So my original impulse was, okay, I have a handful of classes that are pretty much done anyways. I can rush the end of that finalization process and get them out by the 11th, because then it's still under the old document. And so that was yesterday's plan, was to get gun-ho about that. And just enter crunch time and just do the best I can until the 11th. Except I watched a video and did some research, and again, it doesn't seem like that would be a good idea either, because again, via the update clause, if they do indeed find 1.1 a valid update to 1.0a, then my stuff could get yoinked anyways, which I don't want that to happen. So then I'm also then in this situation where it's like, okay, so you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But at the same time, I put a lot of time and effort into this content, and I very much want it to see the light of day. I want people to be able to play with it. I want people to have fun with it. I don't want to just have all that time and effort go to waste. So the only way that I can currently guarantee that that time isn't wasted and that content does see the light of day is if I risk forfeiting the rights to control my IP, is the short of it. And so then the question is, is it more moral to publish it anyways for the betterment of the community and the people, or is it more moral to deny Wizards of the Coast your property and retain full rights to it? Is it better to play ball with Wizards so that people can have it, period? Or is it better to deny Wizards free content out of abuse, right? And that's kind of where I've been going back and forth on, and it's been very frustrating and disheartening, and I don't feel like I should have to feel the way I do. I am very angry. I have a lot of hatred right now towards Wizard of the Coast, and I hope that everything ends up okay. We end up in that good timeline where everything just goes back to normal, and they're just like, oops, sorry, we're not going to do this. And maybe the community forgives them, and maybe I can forgive them, and I can move on, and everything's fine, right? I hope that ends up being the case. But I can't act as though that is the case, and that's certainly not the case right now. Multiple days into it, with still no response from Wizards. For the record, it is currently the 7th, in the afternoon, evening, it's somewhere in between there. But that's... there you go. That's the time capsule this is taking place in. Sorry, I don't remember if I front-ended that or not. My point is that I shouldn't have to argue the morality of which route I take to myself. I shouldn't have to be worried about whether to publish or not. I shouldn't feel as though I have to crunch and get this stuff out now when the game plan was to polish it along with a bunch of other content and get that out over the next couple months, right? I shouldn't have to have this moral debate with myself about whether or not publishing, period, or denying people the content that I very much want to share with people I shouldn't feel trapped, as though there are no right answers, as though I can't be right and that all roads lead to suffering, right? I shouldn't feel as though the hours upon hours of work that I've put in so far were worthless. I shouldn't be in a position to even think about the idea that I don't publish my stuff and all that time got wasted. I shouldn't have to come to terms with the idea that the time that I placed into my hobby and honing my craft and getting to a level of expertise where I could hopefully enter the industry I shouldn't have to feel as though all that time was wasted. And I guess perhaps not all that time was wasted, right? There is some knowledge and skills learned and gained that could be applied to other games and other aspects of life. But at the very least, a significant portion of that time building up those skills and abilities was wasted. And that feels really, really bad. Which brings me to the next point. I shouldn't feel as though my dreams are dying. I shouldn't feel uncertain about whether or not I could forgive Wizards of the Coast. I shouldn't feel as though I want to get involved with something that Wizards of the Coast is not involved with. These are not very inspiring things that you want someone with expertise in your system, someone that wants to effectively create free content for you, to feel. And it is infuriating that we are in this position. And I can only imagine how it's affecting other people who already have published work, who already are in the industry, as well as, of course, myself and everyone else that may have had aspirations that wanted to enter the industry. There is... I'd like to think that this is just a bit of Twitter drama and everything will be fine a month from now, but I really do believe that this is a big eye-opening turning point when it comes to the tabletop RPG industry. This doesn't just affect 5e. This doesn't just affect OpenDnD. This affects, what is it? It was something with 20. I'll try and figure it out what it was. And then it also affects Pathfinder and a bunch of other systems that were built off from 3rd edition, 3.5, and 5e. At least legally it affects them, but then it also affects us creators, the third-party publishers, certainly emotionally, as well as it affects our livelihood or our ability to have a livelihood. I do think this is a big deal, and I don't think that we should forget about it anytime soon. But then I stop and think, well, is that right? Is it right to remember to hold something above the company's head, so to speak? Is it right to feel what I'm feeling? The sort of anger and betrayal and personal attack. Now, obviously, I know that they didn't attack me personally. I'm a nobody talking to a camera, right? They didn't know about me. They didn't know my plans to enter the industry. They didn't know how hard I've worked. They don't know any of that. And this wasn't a personal attack. No, not remotely. But it's still an attack on the hobby, an attack on the community, an attack on... We like to focus on the we of it, that it is our hobby, that it is our community, that you owe us. But we forget that that community is made up of individuals. This affects thousands, if not millions of individuals. It also could affect the millions of individuals that would enter this hobby in the future. And I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do personally. I don't know if I should rush and get out what content is done enough now before this change happens. I don't know if I should wait. I don't know if I should just pack it all up, hide it away, and it never sees the light of day, and I just move on with my life, and I take my life in a different direction. I don't worry about tabletop. At the very least, I know that in the immediate future, I don't want anything to do with Wizards of the Coast. I may never want anything to do with Wizards of the Coast. I know that I shouldn't say stuff like that because it risks burning bridges. But at the same time, like, if someone from Wizards of the Coast is watching this in the future and decides that, oh, this person is bad, like, can you blame me for feeling the way I do about this, given the context of the situation? I don't know. I don't think you can. I think it's perfectly understandable, and I don't think it'll actually burn bridges. I think we're fine, assuming I can get over it and they make the right decisions. But that has yet to be seen. Fortunately, we can't argue towards the future too much. All we can argue towards is the present. And there's a lot of unknowns about the future, so I have to act based upon the information I have currently. What I do know is that if possible, I would like to remain pursuing a career in this industry. I don't know what form that would take. While I mentioned freelancing vaguely, I do believe that beyond just understanding the rules and mechanics of 5e well enough to write adventures and publish homebrew classes and the like, I also am proficient enough when it comes to writing and world building that I could apply that to a broad number of jobs and tasks. So I don't know if you want me for any kind of creative team that's remotely adjacent to tabletop RPGs, or even just remotely adjacent to, I guess, game design in general. Yeah, I can do it. I can't prove that I can do it because the portfolio is not done, and I may never be able to show you what I have of that portfolio, unfortunately. So I guess you're just going to take my word for it, which means I'm not getting hired by most people that can't take my word for it. But yes, I would like to still be included in one of those projects if possible, especially if it ends up being 5e adjacent and ends up being working for a competitor. The spiteful me right now very much wants to work for a competitor of Wizards of the Coast and be on the ground floor as that new system rises. Effectively, what I'm hoping for is for history to repeat itself with Pathfinder, right? When they pivoted towards 4th edition, they also did away with the OGL, right? And it created some problems within the community that resulted in Pathfinder getting created, and then a bunch of the third-party writers just went to go write for Pathfinder, right? There was that mass exodus, that decentralization of the tabletop RPG community that allowed a rival to form in the form of Paizo and Pathfinder. That's currently the hope I have, is that I can hopefully keep my eyes open and maybe get involved with something like that or some other opportunity, because my plans are in shambles, right? Can't do the YouTube thing. I can't do the D&D thing. I don't know where to go next. Well, I have some ideas, but I don't like them. I'm laughing and trying to stay chipper for this video, but truth be told, I'm very, very upset and not okay right now. But I feel as though this needs to be out there somewhere. That this moment in time, this turning point in our hobby needs to be captured, needs to be known. That people in the future need to remember this. Remember, even if we end up in a good timeline, remember how close we came to being in one of those bad timelines. I think that this is an important moment in the history of the tabletop RPG hobby. And I wanted people to know how it affected me, the little man, the everyday guy, right? The people that aren't that aren't in the industry per se, but that have knowledge enough to be in the industry. It's disheartening, to say the least, to be in the position where I am right now. I have no power over anything. I don't know what to do, and I don't know what I can do. So what I can do is keep my eyes open, and maybe an opportunity falls in my lap, right? Sometimes moments of change and chaos can be good. It creates opportunities, and maybe I keep my eyes open and I find one of those opportunities. But otherwise, this may be the end of a dream for me. This may be the end of a hobby for me. I may stop doing tabletop stuff. And I'm not okay with that. I don't like that. I'd like to think that I will pick up a new system, and that some new system will rise to the forefront, and then everything will be fine and whatnot, but currently I don't know of any system. I mean, the closest we've got would be Pathfinder 2e in terms of mainstream that could compete with 5e. And I do like the 2e system. I like what I've read of it, but at the same time, I liked 5e more. It's just something I was more comfortable with. It's something I had, like I said before, expertise in. So it's my system, and I don't like that I can't write in my system. And I guess you could make the argument that, oh, you still can, and oh, you can still run your campaigns and your casual games and whatnot in your system. You just can't publish anymore without the ickies. But at the same time, I don't think I can, for the same reason that I don't currently play Magic the Gathering. There are certain corporate decisions that make me want to not engage with the content that corporation makes. Even if it's not even a proper boycott, even if it doesn't have any effect on them at all, for whatever reason, I feel compelled to not partake in hobbies and activities when a certain degree of corruption is present. I'm also wary to keep an eye on it, and if they try and redeem themselves, to maybe give them a second chance. I'm praying that happens someday with Magic the Gathering. But for right now, for whatever reason, Magic the Gathering is lost to me. And I fear as though this OGL 1.1 reveal may have ruined D&D for me. And that's where I'm at right now. Just struggling with coming to terms with that, and my feelings about Wizards of the Coast, and my feelings about whether or not I want to publish my stuff, and my feelings about what I want to do. Do I still want to try and enter this industry, or is this just the end of a dream, right? What do I even still want to do YouTube? What do I want to do? And unfortunately, a lot of things I want to do, there's no money in. I'm a creative through and through, and it's a problem because the things I want to do tend to not be things you can do unless you have connections or unless you've built up an audience or the like. And I'm not there, and I don't know if I ever will be there, given how rocky this start has been. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good angle, a good way to end this, and I'm failing to do so. It's not really a good angle, but I could play up that hate boner angle and say, hey, hire me. I know that I can't prove that I'm capable. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to take my word for it. Maybe I could send you some of the unfinished rough work. Email me. There's an email in the description. I don't know if I'm going to enter this industry or not unless I end up landing a job like right now. Because depending on how this pans out, I may be disheartened enough to just give up on tabletop RPGs. I'd like to think that's not the timeline we live in, but you never know. But yes, I very much would like to find employment, but at the same time, I can't support Wizards of the Coast. If I am going to enter this industry at this point in time, it does need to be someone that is not okay with OGL 1.1. That's really it. I don't care if you're like a direct rival or not. I mean, that'd be cool, because I'm upset, and spite is a good fuel, but otherwise, I'm down for basically whatever kind of role you need me for, proofreading, editing. If you do want me to do some game design elements, I certainly can do that. Writing and world building, I don't have a lot to share with you outside of my own setting, which I like to try and keep kind of private and secret until I'm ready for that. But I definitely could do the broad strokes there, as well as the more zoomed in strokes, like here's the town. All right, what sort of local threats are there? What sort of factions act upon it? What's going on in the city? Who's in charge here? Who's in charge here? What are the orcs in the mountains up to? So on and so forth, right? You get the point. I'm rambling at this point in time, but yeah. Hire me. Other than that, maybe I make more videos, but I can't guarantee that'll be anytime soon. I have a lot of thinking to do. A lot of soul searching to do. If an opportunity presents itself or falls into my lap, I will pounce on it. But other than that, nothing about the future is currently predictable for me. I have little control over my life, and I feel terrible. You have a good day. I hope that you don't feel terrible, and I hope that those of you sitting in the future know that we are in the happy timeline. But I'm certainly not, or at least not at present time. Maybe future Derek is. I can dream, right? Yeah, we gotta end it eventually. So.